Hello, it's Oren Prunken, and today I want to talk to you about the substance of content and getting attention for it. Now, I'm going to address the substance of content, and content being an example of a lead magnet here, but it applies for most types of content. And obviously, with a lead magnet, you want to get leads for it. So, really, what I want to talk about is what should be in that lead magnet or that content, i.e., the substance of it, and then how to go about getting first the attention for it, and then also getting some awareness around what it is, why it's important. So I just need to give a few caveats first to start off with, and sometimes I forget to mention these things, but obviously there's a bit of a disclaimer that humans aren't robots. They're complex and complicated things. And I'm just trying to give frameworks to give ideas of how to think about how to interact with humans and tackle them. Obviously, the reality when you are actually putting rubber on the pavement is a little bit different, but having some frameworks in the back of your head will help you navigate this far easier than just going in blind. So a lead magnet, the content, a lead magnet to get a lead, the magnet for a lead, is really the content of that at a high level should really be around addressing the biggest problem or the biggest need that a prospect has. Now, you can address, sub problems, but it's a magnet. It should be attracting a prospect to become a lead, and it should really address, as I said, those two things: the biggest need they have, or the biggest problem they have. And what you are trying to do with this is go for really broad do-it-yourself information. If you hand that information over, and that information I'm going to talk about what modality it could be in far later in this episode. If you hand it over to them, they should be able to take that as a blueprint and be able to execute on it. In other words, do it yourself or do it their self. So don't really worry about giving away too much, quote unquote, in that. Even if you do give away, quote unquote, too much, it builds reciprocity. But the other thing is most people just want action, what you give away. Think about it like this. If everyone getting six-pack abs is quite straightforward. It's not like you're taking a rocket ship to Mars or anything. Getting six-pack abs, there's only a few principles you need to do, and you do them over and over again, and they're pretty easy to get. The problem is, if it was that easy going out and doing it yourself, everyone would have six-pack abs, and that's just not the reality. So do it yourself is not necessarily a guarantee for results. So as I said, don't worry about giving too much away. Even if someone goes and executes on that and doesn't use your services or your product or solution later on, it doesn't matter. They weren't going to do it anyway. They were a do-it-yourself type of person. They were going to do it themselves regardless. So they were never going to be a customer of yours. The other flip side to that is you're actually demonstrating expertise when you go quite broad and giving too much away, quote unquote. And for those that were going to become a customer, they are more likely to come back as, done with you. Or done for you. So they'll come back as paid in that form. They're more likely, because you've demonstrated that expertise and built some reciprocity to start off with. So kind of giving those caveats and disclaimers up front. So really, you really want what you want to be doing is starting with that problem or the need. And you have to walk that person through, that prospect through the entire customer journey. What the problem is, why it's important, how it transpires, why it is urgent to go and get solved, what the solutions, all of the solutions out there in the market. And that could be commercial solutions, or it could be the do-it-yourself type solutions that they could, or others could be Frankenstein compiling together to get the result that they want. One of those is your solution. You should be mentioning what your solution is and how it is different and the benefits from all of those other solutions that you outlined. And does your solution work, and how it works, and will it work for them, and what they get. All of those later pieces that I just mentioned really come under where you're presenting a pitch and an offer. So it's not really content, even though I'm kind of lumping it under the same category. And you can present all of that information in one sitting, or you can do it over many different sittings. I'm going to tell you why that's the case in a moment. But because it's a lead magnet, you're going to do it all in one sitting. All of that information is going to sit in one bit of content, the substance of that content. But you actually need to get a prospect to that point to start with. They need to consume it to get all of that information in that one sitting. So how do you get them there? How do you get the attention, then awareness of that lead magnet so they go out and consume it? The thing is, if you are doing a one-way conversation, particularly a lot of quote unquote promotions are one-way conversations where you don't get any feedback. It's not a two-way conversation, either one-on-one or one-to-many. You don't know actually what that prospect is doing, thinking, or feeling as you are having this quote unquote one-way conversation. And it goes back to a quote by a retailer many decades ago, almost 100 years ago, John Wanamaker. And the quote is, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half." And it probably rings true for many, many people within advertising, marketing, and sales. And it really comes down to, first, you don't know if a prospect saw that promotion that you're putting out there. The next is, if they did see it, you don't know if they consumed it. And then finally, if they consumed it, you don't know if it's the right timing for them. In other words, do they have a problem? And even if they do have a problem, is it urgent enough for them to go and solve? So for me and my team, I post a lot for my team size. And the feedback from prospects that I have is kind of threefold. And it's very similar to what the explanation of the John Wanamaker quote I gave was. First off is, a lot of people just miss a ton of content I put out there. I put it out there and they just completely miss it because they are not consuming at that time. Others say that I post too much and they just can't consume it all. They see it, but they just can't consume it. And then others both see it and then they consume it as well. So how do I go about, and for you as well, how do you go about solving that dilemma of people having different consumption and attention levels with the amount of stuff that you're putting out? The attention, the awareness you're trying to get towards that content, in this case, the lead magnet. The way to do that is cover all bases, cater to the highest common denominator, not the lowest. So in other words, just post a lot. So really the plan for this is start with that evergreen content, that lead magnet. It's always going to sit there. You're not going to change any of that. It's going to be, a once and done thing. Then from that, you're going to distill or pull parts out of that main content and use it for your promo pieces that all lead back to a lead magnet. So they're kind of like samples of the lead magnet. You've got, this one piece and then pulling samples out of that. And if you can then translate that into many other forms, visual forms, like if you're doing something in person or video or images or text, or if you're doing something audible, either by phone or, Skype or Zoom or via, a podcast or recording, you can take that one piece and you can translate it into many, many, many other different variations of that. So once you've got all of these different variations, hundreds of them, you can then go post those and distribute them through many, many distribution channels, depending on what that is. And for a lot of people, that is online. But as I said, it could be in person, or it could be by telephone or post, or, digital or physical channels. And all of those, that distribution, they're just announcements. They're announcements that are samples of the main content, but they're all pointing back to that main content. And the thing is, as I said before, a lot of people miss that content. So that's why you're putting so many of these out, and that's why you're translating so many of these. And so you've got a bank of hundreds and hundreds of them that you can then quote unquote announce through your different channels. And hopefully you're going to hit people at the right time. The right time being that they're able to actually go see it, the right time they actually go see it and consume it, and the right time that they can see it and consume it, but the problem is big enough or urgent enough for them to go solve. And it kind of will overcome that, well, not overcome, it will illustrate John Wanamaker's quote of, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted, just don't know which half. It's a matter of just illustrating that quote. So what you're really trying to do with these is two different things: distribute for awareness and attention. And that distribution is just a distilled or a sample of that main content. And you're just doing it over and over again, many different variations, many different forms. Many of those different things will be just on the problem, or just on the solutions, or just on your solution. So you're getting hundreds and hundreds of different variations of this one main thing that you're pushing everyone to. And you're pushing everyone to, in other words, so hopefully to convert into a lead, thus getting the result of what you're trying to do is a lead magnet. So hopefully that helps. Love hearing feedback from people. Let me know how you go with it. Audit what you're doing, try this out, see how it works for you. And until we talk next time, I hope you have a fantastic day, and goodbye. Thanks for listening, and if you like what was on here and want more, please go to orenprunken.com.